Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live once again from Hollywood, California. With me, with a triumphant return after USC camps last week, one and only 99 World Cup winner, Saskia Weber. And joining us, the man with the nastiest side volley, according to Michael Hoff, the one and only NC Courage assistant coach, Nathan Thackeray. Nathan, making, I think, is this your third appearance or fourth appearance on this show? Jeez Louise.
Third or fourth, yeah. I feel
Third
like I'm just the go-to guy when you need someone to fill. That's what I feel like.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Just call Nathan, he'll do it.
Might say, oh, man, we've got nobody this week. Who we got? I know.
Nathan will do it.
Oh my God, Saskia, you weren't there once, but I think there was a time when Nathan, and it was myself, Nathan, and Omar, and we did an episode at the office, and the Wi-Fi was so bad that we basically had to start the show all over again when he moved to another room.
Oh,
God. Terrible. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, Nathan, obviously. You got amazing Wi-Fi. You got a solid background. It looks like you're at home right now. I don't think this is the
office. Home. Yeah. I'm at home.
That's not the NC Courage office.
Yeah. I didn't want to risk it. Got home.
Well, where's Casey?
She's not here with me.
I'm like, I know. But Rutgers alum, we're kindred spirits. So.
Yeah.
By the way, Michael Hoff just put this up. The worst part was the first side volley he hit at me, but definitely love-hate relationship with the post. Oh my gosh, man! I absolutely love it. I'm sure there's a lot more going on right there. Well, Nathan, since we've last had you on, obviously a lot's happened. Some success, and then obviously a little bit of a stumbles at the beginning of the season in regards to the regular season with the league. But the league is so darn competitive, as we were talking about off the air yesterday. Regards to 3 points here, 1 point here can just completely change everything. So why don't you kind of catch up everybody with what's been going on with the Courage this past season?
Yeah, I mean, we've had quite an overhaul in players, a lot of big time players who chose to sort of move on, and we gave them the opportunity to move on, and we said, right, let's sort of rip the Band-Aid off and start afresh, and new coaching staff and different roles for some of the coaches that have been there over the previous years, and myself included in that. And we thought it was a good opportunity for us to sort of not rebuild, but like restructure and start something else, which we got off to a really good start in the Challenge Cup where we were at full strength and did really well and went unbeaten in the Challenge Cup and was able to win the whole thing, which was fantastic for a young team and a relatively new team. And then we had a bit of a stumbling block with a COVID outbreak that sort of derailed us for a couple of games, and then we found our way this over the sort of last. We had 3 really tough away games off the back of each other. Actually did well and pulled good points from those 3 away games, and then we finally got home and what looked like it was going to be a comfortable performance, 5-minute wild spell over the weekend, and we conceded 3 goals in 5 minutes. And I've never been part of a game where I've been on the coach
they were
team.
Weird goals. Like
it was just
like the one that dinked over Casey and stuff like that. Like that was a weird goal. Like
that one hurt. That one hurt.
Yeah.
So, but no, we're doing okay. Obviously the league standings don't say everything for us right now. We have 3 games in hand over most teams, so we pick up a few points within those 3 games in hand, and we're right back in the mix of it. And I think we'll be competitive enough to sort of be there right at the end.
I think it says something for the depth of the league, which you brought up in the beginning, Mike, is that to be able to kind of let some players go and to restructure and everything like that, but still be within a point or 2 points and competitive. That's what's so great about the NWSL. Like, the team that's at the bottom right now could be at the top by the end of the season. And so there is that depth, which you don't find in other leagues.
Yeah, I would agree, Saskia. It's anyone could beat anybody at the minute. You're seeing it with the results that come in over the weekends or midweek games, it's a toss up for who gets the right result. So we'll see.
We can say the elephant in the room is Orlando, but it's okay.
Yeah, they're going through a rough. They're going through a rough patch at the minute, but they started the season well, and they do have some quality. They just got to sort of get some consistency and figure out.
Speaking of quality, I want to give a shout out to Caitlin Rowland, who obviously when Casey got injured, and bringing her back to the Courage fold, I think was a fantastic move on all of your guys' parts to bring her back there. But she just performed in really admirable. Nathan, how important is it for you to have a number 2 that can step in and be just as solid as the number 1 right there?
Yeah, for sure. And she trains.
Just starts laughing right there.
I'm like the quintessential legend of being the number 2 for my entire career. So yes, Mike, I'm laughing.
Hey, listen, that role's vitally important. Like it can't go unstated that role is crucial to not only Caitlin's own development as a goalkeeper, but also Casey's. Like Kate trains and performs like a number 1 every day. And for her to do that is benefiting Casey, because she has to then make sure that she's performing at her optimal level to make sure that she keeps that spot. So it's good for us to have competition. We want competition within the daily environment, and we're certainly getting it. And a big part of that is because of the way Caitlin approaches her role, knowing that she's not the number 1 right now, but she's certainly there to fight for it.
But you know what? That's it. That was my career, but my career, and I'm proud of it, was that I always fought it was number 1 and number 1. And so I know that I elevated Bri to be the best goalkeeper she could be. And she pushed me to be the best goalkeeper I could be, because we went at it every day. She's my sister. We talk almost every day and stuff like that. So it on the field, though, it was, let's push each other, period. Yeah. And I accepted my role. If I wasn't starting, I wasn't sitting there like with a face on the bench or something like that. You know what that's a nod to. And I was just basically like, all right, let's get at it, because we're a team at the end of the day.
By the way, speaking of Bri, just shout out to her and the release of her book. That's just absolutely phenomenal out there. It's not often that you get to go on Good Morning America and plug your book and everything like that. Just absolutely incredible. And shout out to Bri. And obviously, a lot of people are inspired by some of the stories that they've heard. And I know, obviously, Saskia, you've had some run-ins in regards to medical situations as well too. So it's really good to get that out. Great.
It's an amazing book. I have it. It's sitting right here. As well as the documentaries coming out on Netflix. And did I get that wrong? And I'm in it. Ooh. But yeah, I'm super proud of her, because it takes a lot to say your truth. And I think a lot of people will be shocked, but it's kind of like, it's really important to take this moment, because, for her to talk about selling her gold medals and doing all of that to survive. And now we're talking about the Dutch women's soccer team and everybody getting the same pay as the Dutch men. The United States women's soccer team getting the same pay. We're talking about Trinity Rodman getting $1.5 million. We're talking about that. This was not even a concept when the 99ers and when Bri and I were coming up. We were like, here's your Nike sneakers and a t-shirt and be happy. And so it was like, that's a reality. And I've been in that reality with her. So I understand it.
Nathan, I have a question for you. Obviously, you've been in the league for a few years, and as you've seen the league evolve and progress, and now that you're not just I think a lot of people don't know that you're not just doing the goalkeepers there, but you're actually a full assistant coach with the program now, and you've been promoted up with the staff changes and everything like that. Is it easier to be able to handle the environment now that the players are in a more comfortable area where a lot of them don't have to supplement their income consistently, throughout the season?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I mean, when I first joined the league, 2017, I think the league minimum salary at the time was like 16,500. And obviously they get their housing paid on top. So there's an additional fund there, but it was not even close. You can't survive off of that. And now the league's got it to its league minimum's 36, I think, which is, if you got 36,000 in a salary, plus you're getting housing paid for, and meals paid for most of the time, or at least once a day, and you're in good living situation. It's not as bad for a young player like a 22-year-old that's coming out of college. I think it's okay. There's certainly more growth needed, but you look at the demands that are now put on these clubs, and what's the new minimum standard. You look at what KC have just unfolded today with their training facility. If you guys haven't seen that, you need to have a quick look. It's phenomenal, and now that's going to be the new standard. And I think it can't change overnight. The leagues, as we know, it's. I think now it's sustainable. This league is sustainable. There's no question about it. But in the last 15 years, the league wasn't sustainable, but now we're at the point where it is, and the fan base is growing, and the quality of the product is getting better, and now everybody's having to keep up and set new standards, which is what KC have just done. But it's certainly it's a better, an easier environment for these players, knowing that they don't. I look at Caitlin Rowland and year one, and I when I was the director of the youth club, I hired Caitlin as a coach, and she's a wonderful young coach, like really, really top notch. Actually, one of the best we've got in our area. But she was having to train, but run sessions most nights, just to sort of supplement her income. Yeah. And it's got to the point now where it's not necessarily like that. She continues to do it because it's what she wants to do after she's finished playing. She wants to pursue a professional coaching career, so she's still doing it. But it's so much better on the players that they don't have to stress about those things, and the clubs are looking after them much better than what they have done previously. So I'm excited for where it's going, and the opportunities that these players are getting, which is like Saskia said, it's fully deserved.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to say about that in regards to, obviously, with the results going in the table and everything like that, is that, for a long time, for those of you guys who are not familiar with the league, who might be watching in different parts of the world right now, the NC Courage was a very dominant club for a number of years, which is great. But also there's something to be said about having parity in the league, because that shows the growth of the league and the strength of the league, and the fact that every team on a day in and day out basis can beat each other. Saskia, I know that that's something that you're seeing even with just Angel City, San Diego, all these new teams coming in that are competitive right off the bat.
Yeah, but I also want to say something to the owners and stuff like that. So you see that these teams that have people that are believing in them, and the NC Courage has always been there and a staple. You have like an owner like Ron Burkle behind San Diego, and Julie Ehrman behind Angel City and stuff. So you have owners now that have a new philosophy that it's all about women's sports, and they're giving and giving and giving. You have San Diego at the top of the table. So like when that's changed, it's not that mentality of this is like a second tier or third tier sport in this country. This is going to be, we're going to move this to be a first tier sport in this country. And so when you have owners behind that and people that believe in that, then you're watching what happens.
Yeah. Speaking of changes, that's what happens in a cutback situation, everybody. Do you see that? You see that transition right there?
I did not understand that transition.
Yeah, there's a left turn right there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Today's topic, guys, is going to be dealing with cutbacks. This is something that Nathan's been posting a lot of on his YouTube channel. Shout out to you and posting your YouTube channel, and also on the Union, guys. He's been posting quite a bit on the, and there's a little comment right here from John Schneider. It says, "Loving the new YouTube channel. I miss seeing your sessions in person, but this is close. I'm curious how you integrate game video into your sessions." Before we get into the topic.
Wonderful. I know John. John's a good guy and a good coach. He actually worked for us for a little while, so he did get to see some stuff up close, personal, which is great, and being able to watch his was just as good. So, for me, it's I always talk about game demands, but you look at the situation, and I'll take, and I sent some stuff to you just from like regular Premier League or any type of league, to be honest, La Liga. And I look at the game situations that are created, where most goals are scored, how they're scored, and then I try and replicate that scenario within a training session to make it as real as possible. So, you look at, for instance, if you look at Man City and how they score all their goals, the getting into a cutback area is crucial for them. And then a one-touch finish for anything that's sort of between the 6-yard box and the top of the box, that's roughly where they're trying to create. They have an attacking philosophy and they're trying to get into those situations as much as possible. So for us, it's like, well, how do we look at the game, look at our own personal games and say, right, these are situations that are created. So for then I will take clips from our games and I will look at the exact situation that they've created. And I'll say, right, how do I recreate this moment as best I can in any situation, not just cutbacks, but even in and out of possession. So I try and take little pieces, and I'll take some that are like, if we have no game coming up this week, we'll take clips of from Premier League games and say, okay, send it out. Here's your situation. Have a look at it, think about it, and then try and prepare themselves before the session so they know what's going to actually be done. So just a little way of sort of thinking about it beforehand and preparing the goalkeepers to adapt themselves quickly to the environment.
Yeah. There's a question that just came through right here, and actually I want Saskia to answer this one because I think this would be a really great coming from a 99er. I think this person would appreciate this right here. This comes from Karina Weissman Esparza. She goes, I'm training a 6th grader who wants to be a full-time goalkeeper. She's never played before, and I'm having some trouble coming up with drills to improve her hands and low dives. Do you guys have any advice?
I will tell you right now, get on the Union app. I'm serious. There are plenty of drills to help her from beginners to everybody, to help her with basic goalkeeping drills and up to like advanced goalkeeping drills. And so you will see everything there and go on it, because that was the whole point of what we produced and what we created, and it's there.
Well, I was laughing because it was funny how it was an organic plug, but I think you're right, Saskia. I think and Nathan can attest to this. One of
the ones that we just posted was all about handling and footwork. So it's right there. It's at your fingertips.
And I think creating that community, Nathan, where you're engaging. I don't want to make this an infomercial or anything like that, but the more. Honestly, the more people you can chat with and engage with and converse with, regardless of what the platform is, it's going to be massive for you, because you're going to be able to learn from everybody as opposed to just hearing it from a book or one person or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. The more content created by goalkeeper coaches out there, or anybody that can help the goalkeeper position and then share it on a platform like the Union is huge, especially for young goalkeepers. At 6th grade, how old would you be in 6th grade? Is it
11?
14?
You have to help me.
14. No, 11.
Well, no, 6th grade.
My son's
like
11,
11, 12.
11, yeah.
11.
Yeah, 11, 12, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
11, 12.
So for me, if you've yes, pull the content, have a watch of stuff, but don't try and replicate a training session that's far beyond that
Exactly.
person's level or their years. If there's breakdowns and they're struggling, I would strip it all the way back and I would make it as basic as possible and have them become comfortable in that technical action, or maybe it's not the technique, maybe it's a bravery piece, but I would strip it all the way back and one goalkeeper, one ball, and make them feel comfortable performing the action before I would add layers and complexity within a training session.
No, I totally agree with you. Like at that age, you're talking about basics. It's the same thing as if they were a field player and you're teaching them just to dribble. And the proper way and balance and passing and kicking and everything. Like it's the same thing for a goalkeeper. It's got to be basics. It's got to be how to catch a ball, how to handle ball, how to use your feet, like everything. It's got to be basics. I agree with you. Don't go on this and see a pro session and say, I'm going to replicate this with a kid, with an 11-year-old that doesn't know how to catch a ball yet. So you want to dumb it down and be very basic about it and build from there.
Speaking of basic, I want to pull up. So we're going to start.
Basic.
No, I know this isn't basic, but I want to pull up the simple factors in regards to. Actually, no, this is not the clip. This is not the one I want to pull up. I want to pull up this guy right here. So we're going to start back here. Nathan, why don't when we're talking about cutbacks, first off, maybe like somebody like Karina out there who's newer to the position, what do we mean by cutbacks so they're familiar with the terminology?
It's anything where you, for me, it's anything where you have to defend both the goal and the space, and get your optimal position to impact or affect both situations. Usually towards the end line, but you can deal with early cutbacks, you can deal with deep cutbacks, but it's anything that's outside of the frame of the goal that's usually coming back to find runners inside the box. That would be how I would describe the situation. So you see within the video, we've started here very basic, and it's all based off of the movement and the footwork. Nothing super difficult to do. It's more the technique of the action, the movement of the feet. So you see you see the drop step, important to increase that speed. So it started off, and this is with 3 pros and one of our youth academy girls. Really simple. So just movement inside to protect the goal. So simple start to the training session in regards to warm up and activation of hands, a few volleys, but more based on the movement, the footwork, and the ability to drop and protect the goal. But yeah, cutback situation for me is anything that's outside the frame of the goal, outside the 6 that's being pulled back, where we have to impact and defend both the goal and the space.
I'm watching this right here, and I think there's a lot of people out there who, they listen to a lot of content out there, and they watch a lot of content out there. And again, I love what you said in regards to, like, you need to find what works in your environment. And when you're talking about the very beginning activation, stripping it down, there's nothing wrong with rehearsed service. I think a lot of young coaches out there think everything has to be organic and game realistic, right off the bat or whatever, but there's nothing wrong with this type of pattern movement just to get them going.
Yeah. Like I said, this is less about the service and more about the movement, because the movement becomes relative once we open it up and we add the complexity and we add unannounced service throughout the session. Yes, the service is very simple. It's all announced. I know exactly where it's coming from, how it's coming in. But for me, it's the footwork, it's the movement, it's the reaction to see the ball, their eyes getting back to the line of the ball as quickly as possible. That's all it's for.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Like any young coach or parent out there that's saying, okay, everything I have to do is game realistic. No, that's not true. We always build with repetition and just going over. It's a dance. It's where am I? How do my feet work? How does everything? How is my balance and stuff like that? And it's that repetition that becomes second nature to you. And these are pros, and they're still doing it. And so you have to do that. And then you can build in, like for us, we can build into game-like situations that mimic what we just did in a warm-up. But it has to be there. That it's a muscle reaction. It has to be replicated. It has to be done. So it becomes second nature. So that when let's say you have forwards going down, driving to the end line, and doing a drill and crossing it, now it's just second nature to you. I come in your post, I do this, I come across, my footwork's proper, and everything like that. And you don't have to think about it.
Yeah. I love this variation right here, Nathan. So when we just moved on right here, so it looks like you went from the service just coming from the volley at the post. Now it comes from in possession to out of possession.
Yeah, just because I'm huge for in possession actions, and I feel like if we don't do them, we haven't done our job properly. But it's just an activator with the feet, because it's, like I said, it's still warm up, still working on the same action, same rotation. Little movement to adjust to see the ball now, and then one final movement. Now we'll start to hit the ground. So they're finally getting back into a cutback position and affecting an actual cutback rather than just a volley. But this is just a small pass, little touch, just to activate the feet a little bit. Again, less about the service, less about what they're performing in regards to the saving action, more about the movement, finding good position, being comfortable in that position. I mean, these are our first actions of the training session, so it's not too difficult.
Yeah. I want to say this, because this is something, as I pause it just really quickly right here. Well, I guess I can keep it playing, but I want a lot of people out there, because I think, and Saskia, I hear this all the time. It's like, oh, it's about seeing the pictures. It's about seeing pictures. It's about seeing the pictures. But if your body, right, Saskia, can't actually replicate the movements because your body's not used to doing the movements constantly through the repetition, you can see all the pictures in the world. Your body's not going to behave, even if you know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, your mind can tell you, look, I'm old and my mind can tell me what to do all the time, but I can't do it. so my body won't go. And that's the importance of warm-ups like this. Warm-ups like this trigger everything in you so that, like I said, when we build into a game scenario with your team, with anybody, now it's just immediate. It's just immediate. You've already gone through this. This is muscle memory, everything, and you don't even think about it. You know, your footwork is there, your positioning is there, and you just go. And so unless you do this, it's not just going to happen, period. You can't just, it's not going to happen. You have to go through these drills, which I'm stealing. You have to go through these drills. And as simple as people think they are, they're so important.
So it's so funny that you said that, which I'm stealing, because, you know, Nathan yesterday sent like 7 gigs worth of content.
Good, send it.
And he's like, hey, I sent everything for today. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, we're on in 10 minutes, right? I'm like, I'm in the car right now. I don't know what you're doing.
Go.
No, but I mean,
I was ready though. I was ready.
Listen, we all, like, I do drills like this as well and build up drills like this, but it is important. And to answer the question from before, from the viewer, it's the bottom line is these are the things that even pros do. It's that repetition and it's that muscle memory and everything that at the end of the day, that's what's going to make the save.
Yeah. Nathan, let's move on to what's the next progression? Just
for clarity, as you clipping, as you're going through it, we wouldn't necessarily start every session or do every session like this. We would some sessions we will start with realism straight away or complexity straight away, but for the purpose of this session and the period within the week, this was match day -2. We you know, a little bit of confidence, a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of proper activation was important for us.
Right, and it also depends on what the team structure is and what their plan is coming at you and what they're going to do, as well as where you are in the week for match day. I totally get that.
Yeah. All right. So what's the next progression from here? So I should keep going. Oh, right here. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a little touch down the line, a little recovery. The opposite side. It's the same. This is the same.
Oh, the same thing. Okay, opposite side. Okay, so
if I remember, it's just a little touch down the line, and then an action that sees them now working within the goal. Just for the purpose of seeing the ball, seeing a shot on target, but we still see a cutback situation, and it's like so. The session's all based off of one, the cutback, but then our readjustment or our ability to recover into a certain space or recover into a certain position within the goal. So there should be 2 actions in the next one. One's a little cutback, and it's a little shot from just sort of off the angle with players in front.
So it's this one right here. Is this the one right here?
No, you need to go a little bit further.
It's the same one.
Okay.
There's the music.
There we go. Okay, so this is the change, I think.
When you see me at the top of the screen, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, little movement down, rolled out, ball goes into space, player runs on, first time cross, no action, recover, deal with ball and behind the mannequin.
I love the fact that you've got the obstructed view right here. I think a lot of young goalkeeper coaches do this with a non-obstructed view, and then their goalkeepers can't handle the realism of when players get there.
Yeah, well, it's in there because if you look at the at a cutback situation, likelihood is there are people in there, and if we're having to readjust or react to something that's been cut out, and there's going to be either opponent in there or teammates in there, so we're going to have to deal with that anyway. So for us to replicate it and stick a mannequin right in front of them is important for us. Otherwise, everything would be too easy. We get full vision of the ball, and it'd be too easy for us.
Yeah, I like how when somebody knocked down, was it Casey who knocked down one of the mannequins, and then she still went for the ball.
Yeah.
That's why you got the mannequins instead of a person right there. Just smash a person down. Suska, anything you want to add to this?
No, I think it's great. Again, I think the mannequin's important because that's realism. I mean, you don't, like, we get into that thing in goalkeeper training where everything's open and you can see everything and everything's perfect and you're doing, that's not the reality of it. And most goals come in the NWSL, in even in the national team level, from inside the 18 with a lot of chaos going on. So to have the mannequins, to have them have to see an obstructed view, to have the movement, to know on the cutback what their range is, that's an important thing. So am I coming and just doing it for the drill, or do I know I can't get to that and drop stepping and getting goal for a good position? So
yeah. Nathan, I got a quick question for you right here in regards
nice
to
shot, by the way, Nathan.
Yeah. I hit 2 sweet ones here.
I was like, whoa.
For maybe some of the younger goalkeepers that are watching this right now, what should they be focused on in regards to when they're watching pros like this in a session like this? What triggers and cues should they be looking for and seeing if they can spot them as well?
Yeah, it comes quick, obviously. So for me, awareness of what the opponent is doing, where the space they're trying to attack, the movement and their ability to track the ball across the goal, their ability to assess the perception of where the ball's going to go and who else is in the box, so that if this ball takes a deflection off the little pool line, then and it goes beyond me, then what's the response with that ball? Can I take a touch? Do I need to take a touch? Those things, and that's perception, and then your decision has to come quick from there as well. Yeah. So for me, it would be the biggest thing is track the ball, and know where the players are within the frame of the box. Otherwise, it's, you see sometimes within youth sessions or younger goalkeepers, their immediate thing is to move to the player rather than moving and tracking the ball. They want to go to exactly where that player is going to go, but that might not be the player that gets to finish the shot. So, biggest thing for me would be track the ball as it moves across the goal.
I want to say this, Saskia. I think one of the issues I've seen a lot at the youth level, especially, is players in a cutback scenario. When Nathan's talking about tracking the ball, well, they over-track the ball. They go where they think the ball's going. They go faster than the ball, and then they get caught out of position, or a ball takes a deflection, or that sort of a thing.
I actually feel that with a younger goalkeeper, what they do is they're focused. They have no peripheral, and so they're focused on the ball movement. So when this ball's passed, they're focused on the ball movement. And so when it's hit, you have to kind of be ahead of it a little bit and I know that's weird to say, but you can't, if you come with I'm like showing it like I'm on the field. If you come in the ball and you're following a ball like this and like that, if Nathan hits that ball, by the time he strikes it and your eyes come with your head, you're done. Right? You're behind the play. So you have to have your peripheral. You have to know where this ball might land, and you have to get your eyes there kind of first, so that by the time that ball hits Nathan's foot, you're already zoned in on it. If you go at the same time of the ball, I think you're behind the shot.
That's a great point. That's a really
it's a very hard thing to teach. Tony DiCicco is very adamant about that it wasn't following the path, it was getting there before the strike, your eyes and your mind there before, knowing where that ball is going to land, so you were ahead of it. So
and are you saying this, Saskia, because the ball is faster than you are?
Absolutely, it is. Okay. So if you're like Casey right here, right on that pass, if Casey's following that ball, by the time it hits Nathan and he strikes it, she's behind the play, right? But if she knows, okay, there's nobody here, I'm coming, and her eyes are ahead of the play. By the time it hits Nathan, she's seeing it hit his foot, and she can be set and ready to go. But if you're trying to set at the time it's striked, you're a split second behind.
Yeah, I wish I had that information before my my men's league's championship last week. That would have been nice.
That's how I was taught. So,
Nathan, anything you want to add to that before we move on?
No.
Okay.
No. Oh, good.
All right. Is there another progression in here, or should we move on? From,
this was the final progression within the session.
That's the final progression. Okay.
Now I'm trying to create the overall situation that we'd looked at through the video was the save. So the initial save, right there, it created the situation. If you run it back, just run it back one. So it's the clip, the video that was
right here.
was seen. No, I think it's on the other side, but it's fine. You can play it through. So the shot comes across the goalkeeper, and the save pushes there, and they have to readjust their position, and then the cutback happens, and the second save's made, or the second action was performed. So if you look at the next one, I think it's on this side here, I believe so. So I touch inside. This is exactly like it was. The save, and no, it's the next one. Sorry, never mind. But just it'll play through. The save was made, and it was pushed into the opposite side cutback area. And then Casey's full recovery, or Caitlin's full recovery, had to be made. So you look at this, it's pushed into the cutback area, and this is what's happened. And then they had to make a full recovery. Unfortunately for us, we had a goalkeeper as our centre forward, so we didn't get a shot. But it was all
you are
across the body.
You keep bringing up that far post.
Yeah, by design. I want them to push it into that position. So they've pushed it into that position. Now they have to defend that action. So their movement to adjust and then get back across to try and defend the actual cutback action is important. So I'm trying to create that. And unfortunately for me, I've bent a few in the top corner. Or unfortunately for them, I should say. For me, it's great.
I do want to say this with one of the pictures that we just saw just a few plays earlier is the fact of that with Caitlin when she made that parry, the recovery, she stayed there. She didn't overrun her post. She was in proper position, and then that way she was there for the cutback. Oh, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Look at this GQ going on right over here.
Yeah.
Got the branding and everything.
We talk a lot about control, the ability to control movement, control position. Don't need to overdo it. Don't need to be frantic. Don't need to be getting there at 150 miles an hour and be out of control and be out of position. That doesn't help us. So to get there with control, our ability to accelerate quickly and decelerate even faster, to hold our position, perfect. So for me in that clip, that was the entire clip that we tried to create. Ball across the body, pushed and saved, big parry, and then it's still in play. So now our ability to recover our position to the other side of the goal, to be in control to defend either the space or the goal with a cutback or a shot. That was the entirety of the clip, and it recreated the game situation for us. Granted, we've had 4 or 5 different steps to get there, but we recreated the clip at the end of it. So that was a little bit about how we designed the session. So.
Well, let's do this. Let's get into some live clips right now. And Nathan and I did a little Y scouting this morning, and tried to find some courage scenarios that were successful for this right here. So let's pull this up right here. So you're probably going to remember this. This is in the 9th minute against Washington. Sanchez dribbles down the middle, slanted through ball to Trinity Rodman outside the box, who one times the ball inside the 6 to hatch, and Caitlin comes up with a great save with the awareness to drop, pivot, lateral movement, patience to stay big and aware. Let's play it all the way through here.
Yeah.
So everyone can see. Comes in, the ball, great save, and holds on to it. Suskia's big on that. Hold on to it right there.
It was offside, so it wouldn't have counted anyway. But.
Oh.
Actually, I think the thing I like about this. Stop right there.
Okay.
So I think the thing I like about this, I don't think she overcommitted near post, right? So, I think a lot of young goalkeepers might overcommit near post, get themselves out of position a little bit. So with her not overcommitting and staying big, giving herself like 2 yards off the near post with Trinity, I think that it made a shorter recovery when the ball was slotted across. So if you overcommit, then you're scrambling to cover that space, but she didn't. She stayed big. Now it's 1-2 steps and she's still there and she's still covering, and her positioning off her line is good.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Saskia. I didn't even think about that. Like one more step.
Right.
So one more step. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at look at that. She's most people would overcommit near post, right? And so she didn't. So now instead of having to make 4 or 5 steps, she's making 3 steps and covering the rest of her goal.
Yeah. Nathan, anything you want to add on to this right here?
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing for a young goalkeeper that's watching, or even for coaches that are watching, what's really helpful for Caitlin in this moment as she makes a save is her ability to keep loaded within her adjustment to action. So if you watch her head, you watch her shoulders, her chest, it doesn't move until the saves happen to be made. So she stays consistent with her body position all the way through, even though she's adjusting across the goal quite quickly. So it helps her then execute quick because she's loaded. If she comes up, you see a lot of goalkeepers, they come up and they bounce in their movement, and then their head's like up and down, up and down, up and down. But if you're in an up moment and that action happens, it's very difficult to get back into the save. So for me, her technical execution and her ability to control her body weight was very crucial. She reads the play really well. She knows she's in a good position. She's not going to get beat. She knows that she can't impact the ball. So now she has to, see and perceive the distance that Hatchie's going to score from. Can she adjust her position going deeper? No, because it happens so quick. So she has to adjust across as fast as possible. She does that by maintaining control. And we talk about defending a goal in thirds all the time. And can we optimize 2/3 of the goal? We're going to have to give up something at some point because we can't cover the whole goal. So how do we optimize? If she's defended the first 2/3 brilliantly well, if Hatchie toes it in the far corner, she probably doesn't get there. But the fact that she's very, very good in those first 2/3 with her position, her adjustment to action, her ability to control that the movement across the goal, and then the ability to execute the save and hold on to it is big time for us.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I love what you just said right there, Nathan, because that's such an important thing, right, Saskia, is in regards to understanding that, like, especially in slotted situation, like if they slot it, like there's really nothing you can do about it in certain areas. So like try to be as successful as possible in the areas that you can control rather than hope, rather than being like, well, if they do play in that area, I'm going to come up with this big time save or whatever. No, be successful in the actions you can.
Right. I think what we also find with young goalkeepers is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that they get obsessed with not focusing on, okay, Trinity right here. They're like, a lot of, even if she comes deeper, it's like, I see this, in a lot of camps and stuff where they're like, well, if she slots the ball, I have to get there. And I'm like, the only thing right now is Trinity's shot. Like, that's it. You should have organized your defense. If they're not goal side and stuff like that, you're going to deal with that if you're picking the ball out of the back of the net and you're going to yell at somebody. So you get to a point where your positioning is proper, but you're not positioning yourself because this might happen. You have to focus on the task at hand. The task at hand is if Trinity shoots this ball, right? But she's in such a good position that she has both covered. So you don't want to overcompensate and say, well, she'll only go near post or something like that. You have to have the right positioning, but you don't want to get in your head. You're not marking players coming into the box. You're dealing with the shot. And I think I see that a lot with young players where they're like, they get caught in between that decision-making. They get buried near post or something like that because they were like, well, she might have slotted. That's not your problem right now. I think when you get into this position, your problem is a shot at hand. Put yourself in the right position that if you have to recover across, you're there to do it.
Yeah. I by the way,
something more
absolutely,
quick,
Nathan. Yes.
You just addressed, and it goes back to the training session. I actually had the conversation in that training session that you just showed clips of, because of the complexity and the actual situation they were in. There was a lot of goals scored, and even in the clips, there's a lot of goals scored. And I said to them, don't be okay conceding goals, but understand that you are going to concede goals in this situation. What we're trying to do is trying to get them in that exact moment, like this one, like the game clip, where they now can execute because we've put them in the situation so often. Yeah. It becomes natural for them. And a lot of goalkeepers, even my goalkeepers with the pro team, they get so frustrated when they concede a lot of goals. And even in that session, they were getting frustrated. And I had to say, listen, there's a lot of complexity happening here. There's a lot of movement. There's second phases. There's a third phase.
Exactly.
Don't get comfortable conceding goals, but understand that you are going to concede goals in this moment. What can we do to then prevent that from happening even more? So I think that's crucial for young goalkeepers that get in this moment. This is not for me. This is not to the benefit of the goalkeeper. This position.
And it's quite possible that if she puts that a little bit wider, although I do think it would have been saved, that it gets tucked into lower corner side netting. That's possible. And in this situation, you are absolutely going to concede goals.
I want to move on to this next clip right here. So now this is Casey Murphy, and I didn't try to make this the Trinity Rodman show. She was making it the Trinity Rodman show. This is a different game against Washington.
Different game,
yeah. So
this is my head coaching debut, guys.
That's right.
Right here, yeah.
That's right. Shout out to you right there, Nathan. So you remember this very well. 18th minute, Rodman receives a bouncing ball at the outside wide channel, cutbacks outside of the 18, dribbles in, and just unleashes a looping shot that Casey Murphy tips over the ball right there.
Positioning.
Yeah. So let's walk it through from the very beginning of the scenario.
She has the entire goal covered. I'm sorry, she does.
So let's start from here. Do you want to break it down for us, Nathan?
Yeah, you go ahead. You can play it. So first of all, her adjustment to get into the right spot, so that if Trin did push to the end line, she just closes her hips and she can protect the goal and be in a really aggressive spot, but also protect the space because of the range that she has. But knowing that she cuts inside, she's still in her optimal position that when that ball cuts back in. For me, she's a little over-adjusted to her right. I would like her right foot to be slightly forward. Her hips are a little bit too open, but that's me being me.
No, I agree with you, actually. She's in
a good position. If you look at this is why I added the shot in the training session that you just saw. This for situations like this where the player cuts inside and hits, and the one with the dummy in front that you were talking about. So cut inside, left foot shot. This is why we added this in there. So as she cuts inside, great position. Again, look at her hips; they're slightly off center, which is a bit annoying for me, but it's happening quick, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. But her ability to execute, and if Casey's in a good spot within the goal, she's so hard to beat. This is only a little touch, but it's an important touch that puts it on the top of the crossbar and sends it over. But for me, her ability to gain position quickly allows her to make a save, to be honest, or perform the next action. If Trin pushed it to the end line, she could close it quickly and be in a good spot to defend the space from a cutback.
So Saskia, as a former world-class goalkeeper, and Nathan and I like to pretend we were world-class goalkeepers, but
he's never said that to me, Saskia.
What are you seeing right now if you're Casey right now in this scenario?
I think I agree. I think overcompensate a little bit to the right, but I think that when Trinity comes and cuts it in, hold, and comes back a little bit more, her positioning is good there, comes back a little bit more. She's a little near post because that far upper corner is open. Now listen, if Trinity Rodman buries it in the far upper 90 right there, it's a great goal. But with Casey being 6'1", like she's got the goal covered. I agree with you, Nathan, on this, that I'd say a step more to the left. Is she worried that Trinity might drill it near post? But I think that her physique and her size could cover it regardless. So it's a great save.
I think a position.
We are nitpicking right now. We're nitpicking.
A position on the ball line. I remember I said defend and save in 2/3 of the goal. That's where we can optimize ourselves. For me, it was that her hips are rotated a little bit too much, and they're too much. Her right foot's too deep. She needs to push her right foot forward so that she's flat. Because then, if Trinity does go across her, the angle of her dive is
she's
more
not going to be able to
not as flat. So, for me, that she's just ever so slightly off tilted a little bit. But her actual position and our ability to, if you look at her, she's almost directly on the ball line. But to protect and save in 2/3 of the goal, if Trinity smashes it in the far side netting and goes in off the post or goes in the top corner, sometimes you just got to hold your hands up. But I fancy Casey's chances to save in that moment as well. So
what I like also about Casey is her distance off the line. So I think that's eating up so much. So when Trinity looks up, she's seeing Casey. And we find a lot of young goalkeepers are too deep in this situation. And that's giving up way too much of the far post and center half of the goal to the far post. And because they're too deep, right? They might be technically in a ball line, but they're not forward enough. So I love her distance off the line.
Nathan, I have a question right here in regards to that deep right foot, because I was noticing that as well too. Is that a cheat? Is that a cheat based on reading tendencies in the game for her? Maybe that she's like, oh well, this is the play that she's been playing, or is that just a simple matter, just too flat?
I think this is why I don't like sharing too much NC Courage content. This is I don't want to say it's a flaw, but it's a flaw. She does rotate a little bit too much, so and she knows that. But it's fortunately for her, flat. she has unbelievable range, and she gets out of trouble sometimes. But she's not cheating. No, she's just opened up a little bit too much.
Yeah.
This is all about. This is an educational platform for all of us, and Casey Murphy would admit it as well.
Listen, Casey, if you're listening out there, if we have to get this nitpicky on you, you're doing something right. Like, I'm sorry, your big toe is too flat and you're a little unbalanced.
Yeah.
So
that's me. She knows it. Like, so I'll say some stuff to her sometimes.
That's me too.
And she looks at me and I'm like, probably shouldn't have said that or addressed that moment. Too critical sometimes, but yeah. I don't think she'd want me any other way, to be honest. If I let her off for that, she wouldn't be happy with me. So
I will say this, Bob, before we move on to the next clip right here, is that for any young goalkeepers out there listening, or young coaches out there, who are listening in regards to how to handle, conversations, with their goalkeepers and everything like that, is that you've got two people right here, in Nathan and Saskia, who have been very candid and open with somebody like Casey, and in order to get to that next level, you need people in your corner. And you as a young coach, you need to be able to be comfortable being that open and honest, not being disrespectful and talking down, but more instructive and constructive, so that these people keep growing regardless of the level that they're playing at. Yeah. That's just my 2 cents right there.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, of course. Speaking of that, let's move on to the third goalkeeper in the NC Courage pool that I want to bring up, who's got a very bright future. And unfortunately, we don't have any Courage footage of her, but we do have college footage. We do have college footage of Mirzabova playing against Vanderbilt. So basically what happens in this situation is player kind of stops near the edge of the 18 wide, cuts the ball back inside, player turns, shields it. Marissa stays nice and big right there. Shot is hit. She makes a save to the near post right there. Obviously a different level than the NWSL, but still a good picture for a lot of young players to see right here. So let's kind of walk it back here. And I want a lot of people to see the patience here, because kind of like, well, first off, there's the player getting flattened right there as that ball has got bitten, played across. But I love the patience here. She doesn't bite and try to attack this ball. She's kind of shielded a little bit. She waits for the turn. She stays patient, and then the ball is played. Boom, right across. Any thoughts here? Anybody?
Well, let me first of all say, and she might not listen. I don't know. We'll see. But maybe a parents listen or a future fan. What a fantastic young talent and a fantastic person she is. I did a goalkeeper pro combine a few weeks before the draft, a couple months before the draft. And there was a lot of talent there, and this one stood out for not just her ability as a goalkeeper, but her infectious personality, her character, her desire to get better, her ability to apply feedback to her game and immediately adapt was phenomenal. And for me, it was we took her in the last pick of the draft this year, and we tried from pick 26, which was the pick before our last one, and we tried to move up to try and get her. I was so worried that we weren't going to get her, and fortunately nobody took her, which was amazing to me, because she's going to be very, very good. She's like a Tom Brady. Yeah, she is. But I got to call her and say, hey, listen, we have pick 44. You ready to be drafted? And she was in tears immediately. But she has the same, very similar, like goalkeeping characteristics as Casey does. So she's benefiting from the fact that she's in our environment, and not necessarily that she's not the focal point of every session, but because it's because the sessions are often geared towards Casey's attributes. She's picking up information and adapting it to a game and doing really well. In regards to this clip, I would absolutely pull her apart for the first part of it.
I'm going to say it. I was sitting here, was like, am I allowed to say it? I'm going to wait for her to say it.
Look, guys, there's only so much college footage I could find out there.
No, I want to hear. I want to hear what Nathan's going to say, because I think we're on the same page.
Remember when I said to Caitlin and her ability to be fully engaged, and Marissa has an off moment here when she thinks it's over.
Right there.
She stops. She stands up, and if the cutback is hit first time, she's in trouble. Fortunately, the player has a touch, and she can sort of reload her body. But if you let the clip play through, watch her. She stands up straight, and she's no longer engaged at all.
Right here.
And then she's like, "Oh no, I've got it." And if this is hit first time, she's in trouble. She has to make a very reactive save. Fortunately, the player takes 2 touches, so she can sort of get her position together again. So that would be the first part that I'd be a little bit upset with. And her hands are a little bit too low in the save, but she makes a good save. But this is, she's a work in progress and getting better every day. So
and I agree with you. I saw the same thing where you see that that kick right before, she's straight up and rigid and grounded. And instead of what we saw with Casey, what we see before is you have to be engaged here. So she's totally not engaged. She's flat. She's everything like that. So where's this ball going to go? Right. So if that's hit first time, she's done. Or, basically is scrambling to get to the save and stuff like that. She recovers and does get set, but I agree with you, but she's young and she's a work in progress. So we're seeing the exact same thing.
I want to say this, obviously, Saskia, you've been in the elite.
Mike, did you see that?
I did see that, but I wasn't going to point it out.
I waited for Nathan to say it.
I wasn't going to point it out, and I'll be straight up honest with you. Obviously, with the speed of play and at the professional level versus the amateur level.
You know what? Listen, Brady, the future Tom Brady can come back and yell at me in 10 years and be like, "You talk crap about me. I wasn't engaged." I'll be like, "All right."
But no, obviously, Saskia, the collegiate environment is still a developmental environment, and for lack of a better term, I'd call it almost like Division I level in the United States. It's almost like U23 professional out there. And just, is this something that, like, kind of once you get to that next level, there's the difference between a 20-year-old and 26-year-old, who's been in a pro environment consistently?
Well, there's a difference between what that player on the ball right now, I don't know who Vanderbilt's playing, but what that player on the ball right now is going to do. Like, so in a pro level, that she might punish her for being straight up, and that might be a direct shot first time on goal. In the college level, it's a cutback, or it's not, the speed of play isn't as fast. So yes, you can kind of get away with it, but now she's training with courage and everything like that. So she's seeing a faster speed of play. She's seeing being punished for not being engaged and stuff like that. And so that will change as she grows.
Yeah.
She can't grow anymore. She's like 6'2" already.
Yeah, I know. I swear to God, Nathan, I was like literally myself, Michelle Akers, Daniel Fotopoulos. We were like the tallest people on the U.S. women's national team. I stand in a group of players now, and I'm like the shortest person. I'm like, what is in the water? Where are these kids coming from? Goalkeepers are like over 6 feet. I was like 5'9". 5'9" was perfect when I played.
Yeah. She's from Wisconsin, so they got to grow big up there, right?
Yeah, it's like the milk and
just so they can get through the snow.
Yeah,
gotta be tough.
Oh my gosh! Well, Nathan, thanks for taking all the time with us, man. Obviously, I know you've got a busy schedule. You're heading back to Scotland for one of your licenses, right?
Yeah. I head out on Friday for I'm doing the UEFA B goalkeeping license. So I head out on Friday and then straight to Seattle from Scotland to Seattle. So Edinburgh to Seattle on next Thursday to get back for the game against OL Reign. So
that'll be a good one.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one.
I hope so. Both teams got a lot of players away, so it's going to be good to see some unfamiliar faces on the field, which would be nice. Which is always a positive with an international window.
Absolutely. I mean, it's nice for players to get a chance to get some matches in while other players are away. And obviously, with the CONCACAF championships and there's a Coma Bowl going on at the same time. There's a lot of the
and U.S. national teams in camp.
Yeah,
there's all sorts of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So
they're away for a while though. I mean, it could be sort of end of July, early August before they're actually back with us, which is crazy.
Oh my gosh! Wow,
that's
that is a long time. Well, that is that's why Caitlin Rowland's there. That's why Caitlin is there.
She'll be ready.
Yes, she is.
She is ready. Well, Nathan, if anybody wants to reach out to you directly, where's the best place? And by the way, thanks for sharing your content and engaging in the platform over on the Union. We love having people like yourself on there. I feel that voices like yourself getting to engage with these people is just so beneficial. So thank you for taking the time.
No problem.
Yeah.
And I mean, social media. I'm pretty active on most social media platforms. So I'll be on there. And obviously I just started throwing some training content, past and present, onto YouTube, just to give some people some insight, and onto the Union as well. So years past I wasn't able to do it. This year is a little bit different. So I'm all about sharing, and I'm not afraid of admitting I've stole a lot of stuff from a lot of people.
Oh, I'm stealing. Mike is sending all your content to me as soon as we get off this, fine. And I'm stealing everything. Like I steal all the time.
It's good. It's just my only thing with the when you steal is make sure you know why you're stealing it and how you apply it in your environment. That would be my biggest thing.
We see things the same. I don't say that to every person that's on here, by the way. so now I've set myself up. So the next person that's on, I'm like, I'm not saying anything about stealing your content. You're gonna be like, heard about it. They're like, you told Nathan you were stealing his content. I'm like,
Well, luckily the next guest that's coming on is a player, so you won't be able to steal Dee Dee's content. I think that'd be very difficult to do.
Dee Dee's coming on next.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to tell her that next time she plays against her, she's got to stop doing the catch and fall down and sit on for 10 minutes.
I can't stand that.
Yeah, she's the master of that. Her and Dan, her goalkeeper coach Dan Ball, they've implemented that into their game at the highest level. I mean,
I know, and I love that the fans start counting now.
Yeah, 24 minutes into the game, and she was catching a ball and sitting on the ground with it, and I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, we're in for a long run here. I'm just teasing. Didi's a good goalkeeper, a good person.
She is. No, but it's true though. I love the fans have caught on. They start counting, and obviously she's a good goalkeeper, and I love her and stuff. But it's funny you brought that up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Reminder.
Well, everybody, if you want to reach out right there directly to Saskia Weber and speak to her about delaying games by sitting on balls, you can reach out to her at Saskia Weber on the Union, or at Saskia_Weber on all other social media platforms. If you want to reach out to us directly, contact at insidethe18media.com or at Goalkeeper Podcast on all social medias if you have a guest suggestion or topic suggestion, or you can reach out on the Union at Goalkeeper Podcast. If you want to reach out to me, michaelmagidcomedy.com or at Michael Magid for all things non-goalkeeper related. Nathan, thanks again for taking all the time, man. Best of luck in Scotland. Enjoy the weather. I'm sure it's going to be beautiful.
Miserable. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Beautiful. All right, Nathan. Great seeing you.
That's Appreciate all the time on Inside the 18, guys, and we are out. Later, guys.